Hey guys, this is Dennis, the founder of Think Hero.
And I'm David Griffin, your resident comic book and video game guru.
And this is our review of Breaking Bad, the final season.
Confessions, episode 11?
11, yeah.
11, yeah. Episode 11.
Third one since we've been back.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the episode where the shit hits the fan.
Yes.
Like, we're kind of what we've been waiting for, I guess, because we've been talking and speculating. Eventually, Jesse's going to turn on Walt. But we didn't know, was he going to find out about Jane? Was he going to find out about the ricing? Or was he going to find out about Mike? What was the thing that was going to convince him to turn on Walt?
Right.
And now we know.
Yeah, we know. He's mad. Jesse's upset. He's not happy. Obviously, we see him at the end there going with the gasoline or whatever and trying to possibly burn Walt's house down. I don't know if that's going to happen, but because we've already seen what Walt's house looks like in the future, but who knows? Yeah, it was great. This is another great episode. I mean, probably had one of the best restaurant scenes I've ever seen in television, one of the most awkward Mexican restaurant scenes between the families. So, no, it was another good episode. I mean, it's been a good... I mean, this episode, again, was like last week a little bit in... I mean, not a whole lot happens maybe within the episode, but that doesn't mean it's a bad episode. It's just that there's just very few things that happen within the episode.
Yeah, I think it's weird, though, because I think people are a lot more forgiving of Breaking Bad for doing that versus there's other shows that we like.
Boardwalk Empire.
Or even Game of Thrones sometimes, where it is a slower pace, but a lot of stuff is happening underneath.
Right.
And that's what Breaking Bad is doing this season, and I think it's great. But I think people are more forgiving of Breaking Bad doing it versus other shows.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah. When you said restaurant scene, at first I thought you were talking about the diner in the beginning with Todd.
Right? Yeah.
That
was a good one
scene,
too.
I consider it's like their Tarantino scene.
Right.
You know, like here's this guy telling a story to his two friends, you know. And obviously they didn't really reveal what the importance of that was, but there must be something with like the blood on his
I mean, he flushed the toilet and it didn't quite.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they're coming back from that massive shooting they had. So
with the methylamine.
Right. So maybe a cop will see, and then they'll track him back to the diner. And then I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean, Gilligan's great at just planting those little seeds there. You're like, oh, is that going to be a clue in an investigation? Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, the scene that you were talking about, the restaurant scene with Hank, Marie, Skylar, and Walt, yeah, that was really awkward. I thought it was funny with the waiter always coming to interrupt because it's kind of true. Where like obviously we aren't having those type of conversations that big of conversations, but there are sometimes when you go to a restaurant, maybe I don't know, you're fighting with your girlfriend or something like that, or there's something else going on.
Right, it's awkwardness, yeah.
And then there's a waiter just not knowing, you know, they're just doing their job, but they're kind of like in the way, kind of.
So that was really good. That was set up. I mean, the tension was great. I loved Hank's stare. He had one of the best just stare downs of Walt. Every time they showed him, he just had this angry look, just looking at him. That was awesome. No, it was another great scene. I mean, all the just great actors. I mean, great actors just doing what they do, doing great things. I mean, especially Hank and Walter and their dynamic. I mean, Walter just, you don't believe him anymore. Like, he just talks and says all this crap. I mean, I like that Jesse actually called him out in this episode and said, can't you just be real with me for like 10 seconds? I mean, Walt, he can't do that. I mean, I don't even know what he's saying anymore.
Well, he's not being real to anyone.
No,
I mean, he tells Skylar what she wants to hear. He tells Walt Jr. what he wants to hear. He tells Jesse. He tells Hank. Like, whatever he thinks is the going to be the best outcome in the end for himself. Yeah. I think he's going for. But, you know, him and Skylar, you know, made that video that...
Yeah, they're still sticking together.
That video basically puts Hank in a place where it's like now he can't do anything. Like, what can he do?
Right.
I mean, he can kind of like try and find the evidence on his own, but there's no way he can bring it to the DEA anymore.
I mean, that was another great scene too. Again, like when I say nothing happened, I should say it's not that nothing happened in the episode, because of course, like Boardwalk Empire, there's a lot of stuff going on underneath, like Game of Thrones, a lot of layers to it. A lot's going on. It's just not action and
whatever. Yeah, except for like the last 5 minutes of this episode.
Last 5 minutes. So I mean, that scene with Hank and, you know, just watching that video of Walter confessing the false confession, that was a great scene.
Well, because it's a believable story that Hank is telling, or not Hank, Walt is telling. I mean, if you're the DEA,
it's a believable lie, basically. Yeah.
Well, you would think like, oh, it's not him. He's not the master.
No, he's some high school chemistry teacher.
Yeah, look at him.
Right, he's weak.
No,
he's weak. Yeah.
This guy Hank, he looks like he would be the guy who did.
He's a DEA agent. He has inside information. He knows how the cops think. It makes sense that he would. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. And then what we find out that now Hank said that's the last nail in the coffin. I mean, what did they spend $177,000 in medical bills or something like that? So now they are tied in it.
He's tied into it because now that money, that drug money, has been spent for his recovery, and also like the way Walt tied in the whole like assassination attempt on Hank.
Yeah.
How that he's the the kingpin, and that's why they went after him. It makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
His story, Walt's story, is more believable than the truth.
Right.
The story that Walt tells in that video is more believable than what actually happened.
And Walt also is a guy that you tend to, just because of Bryan Cranston's performance, pity him more.
Yes.
Hank's got that stern, confident alpha male type thing going, whereas Walt is kind of weaker and crying, and he's I can't say he's a good actor because of course Bryan Cranston is a good actor, but his character Walter White is a good actor. Like he's good at portraying these emotions, and you believe him. You think he's being honest.
Yeah.
I think that's his greatest skill, is his faking emotions.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we really don't know what Walt's thinking,
right? No,
because he's different people to. He himself is a different person to different people,
right?
And he, even his son,
he even manipulated Walt Jr. Yeah. I mean, that scene was crazy.
Yeah,
he manipulated him.
Basically making it so he wouldn't go over there.
He didn't tell him that his Kent was back because he cared about his son's feelings. It was so that he would feel bad about leaving him and going over to his Aunt Marie. So, I mean, he's just using him. Yeah. It's not good parenting. Parents out there, do not follow Walter White's example. Yeah.
No. But so, I mean, we end with Jesse, finding out, and obviously now maybe he'll team up with Hank. But even if he does, I'm still not sure if it's enough for Hank to go to the DEA with.
Yeah.
Because I think Jesse, in the eyes of the DEA, is not a credible witness in a way. Like, he might be like, okay, this guy, maybe he just wants to get out of jail time, and he's going to say all this stuff about,
In his mental state, he's just not all there right now.
Yeah,
Jesse. I mean, he's a little bit out there, and he just went and punched Saul, beat up Saul. I mean, he's on a rampage, putting gasoline and Walter's house, and maybe possibly burning it down. So I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think Jesse is not going to be a credible witness.
Yeah, but I think he will team up with Hank in order to take down Walt.
Lesser of two evils. He doesn't like Hank necessarily, but Hank's not as evil as quote unquote evil as Walt is in Jesse's eyes, anyway.
Yeah, and then the whole thing when Saul was selling Jesse on a new life. Well, Saul and Walt were I'm like, okay, well, I think this is Walt had Saul do that for him, and that's why he was in Connecticut and whatnot. And we still don't know what he's coming back for, though. We don't know what the whole ordeal is.
Right, yeah, I kind of assumed, like you said, I thought that maybe Jesse was going to go away to wherever, Connecticut, New Hampshire, wherever they were, and maybe Walt would go meet him out there later. I thought that was setting it up, but obviously, he didn't take it. He's staying in town as far as we know. So, yeah, I wonder, I'm still curious because we're, 3 episodes in?
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, 3 episodes in. So we're getting to the halfway point of the season. I wonder when Walt is going to go out east and when that's going to happen. Maybe it'll be after the showdown with Jesse. There's got to be a showdown with Jesse. It has to happen at some point, I think. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's what we thought of the episode. Let us know your thoughts and what you think of, what's going to happen. Do you think Jesse's going to team up with Hank? He's going to go his own way? I don't know. You can post your comments on this YouTube video, which is our YouTube channel, which is Think Hero Pro. Make sure you subscribe. Our website, thinkhero.com.
You can also find us on Twitter. I'm at GriffinDE.
And I am at Think Hero. And we also have a Facebook page that's facebook.com/ThinkHeroFans.